Well, good morning. My name is Shawn Langwell. I am the host of the Dare to Be Great, Dare to Be You podcast. Thanks for joining me. It's been a while since I've actually recorded my own episode. I've had a slew of great guests, and as a result of that and some of the conversations we've had, downloads are up just this last week alone by 69%. A month ago, downloads were up almost 500%. And I don't know exactly why that is, but I do know this. There's a lot of people out there, and my gut's telling me that because people are hungry for encouragement, they're trying to be and tired of being bogged down by fear, worry, and self-doubt. They're exhausted. We're trying to hold it all together and maintain some sense of control in our lives. And this show is your chance to take a break from the rat race and be inspired to embrace the life you were meant to live. If you like honest, vulnerable, and real stories about what it takes to not only become great, but self-confident and bold enough to be yourself, then this show is for you. In general, not today, but in general, each of my guests started out as ordinary people like you and me and have accomplished extraordinary things in their lives to be considered great masters or experts at what they have been called to do. Join me each episode for inspiring, encouraging, and meaningful conversations with diverse people from all walks of life and industry. Leaders and brave individuals who offer unique insights into the fields of arts, entertainment, business, finance, technology, healthcare, sports, psychology, recovery, self-improvement, personal growth, and so much more. Whether you are in the same fields as my guests or me or not, I guarantee you will walk away from each episode feeling better about yourself and inspired to take the next bold step toward your own goals and aspirations. Your life will improve if you dare to be great and dare to be you. And today I'm going to give you a little insight onto some of the things that I've been working on. The last two Saturdays, I have done two different workshops. I was a presenter at the Elk Grove Writers Conference up in Sacramento and presented a topic called The Art of Presence, uh, pro tips, pro self-marketing, pro tips for marketing and self-promotion, primarily for authors and entrepreneurs. And I did an in-depth full-day workshop with a co-leader, Audrey Coleman, here in Petaluma last weekend. We had six guests show up, and it was both of these were the first time that I've done anything like this. And what I got out of it is a richness and a need and a hunger that people have for the encouragement to say you are enough. And yes, we know that there's always more that we can do. And that's part of the problem is this striving and what society tells us we need to do or what we should think or feel or what we worry about other people thinking that we're doing or not doing is literally driving us fucking insane. I don't have time for it. I'm 61 years old. I've got my entire next 30 years of my life mapped out, and I'm going to start sharing some of that stuff with you over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months because I've got some great plans lined up for next year, including a celebration of my 40th recovery anniversary and the celebration of the 10-year anniversary of my very first book, Beyond Recovery. I'm working on finalizing the forward to this edition as well as an epilogue, and that will lead into some other seriously transformative work. Some of it will be 12-step focused, some of it won't. It'll incorporate all types of attitudinal behavioral habits and challenges that we all face. And I've lived them and breathed them and practiced them for over almost 40 years. And I'm starting to share that with the world because I think the world is hungry to hear more. And it's not a walled garden. And I'm not crossing boundaries with what the traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous are or any of the other 12-step programs out there. I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope for the sole purpose of carrying that message of hope to people who are still sick and suffering. And it doesn't have to mean alcoholism. There are people who are struggling and just trying to keep it together, and it is not necessary to have to live in fear and doubt and insecurity. And it's not easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Anybody who knows me and who's listened to this podcast now knows that I'm a no nonsense kind of guy. I have a huge heart. I come from a place of empathy, but some people may consider what I do as a tough love. And if you look at some of the books on the bookshelf behind me, 10 Seconds of Boldness, Chill, which I just came out with a couple months ago, and Morning Motivation. They're on a shelf next to a lot of other books that I've read. And those books have incorporated and shaped who I am as an individual over the last, probably since I was 17 years old. And now I am stepping into my own courage and confidence to step through my own fear, to share with the world some deep, heartfelt insights of what it was like when I was out there drinking and what it was like for me to find my own path, primarily a spiritual one. If the spirituality scares you away, so be it. This may not be for you, but it's a big part of who I am, and I've been denying that. I've been denying the fact that the number one most important thing in my life that every single thing centers around is my ability to stay sober and to have a conscious contact with a power greater than myself, who I choose to call God. If you don't like that, that doesn't matter. That's for me. That's what's worked for me for 39 years. And at first, it scared the living crap out of me. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna share my full story, but I don't want to catch people off guard. So what I'm going to do right now is share the intro to Beyond Recovery to give you a taste of where I come from and where I'm going. And I just hope that you continue to share this show with other people, that you continue to support me, that you continue to take a chance on yourself and do your very best to step through the fear that's holding you back and dare to be great and dare to be you, because life is too freaking short to live in fear. That's my motto. If we don't step through the fear, it's not going to go away. And you know what? Even when we step through it, it's still not going to go away. But if we allow fear to rule and control who we are as human beings and what we think we can and cannot do, nothing is ever going to change. I made a decision on October 10th of 1986 that has literally changed my life. And I honestly believe in my heart of hearts, if I didn't make that decision on that day, that I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. And now at this later stage of my life, the last third of my life, I have an obligation and a fiduciary responsibility to practice the 12 step of a program called Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's not just in recovery. That responsibility is to stay sober and carry a message of hope for those who still suffer. And that's what I'm going to do. If you want to join me, keep coming back, because this is going to get really real and it's going to be fun and transformational and life changing and all that stuff. And you know what? I'm at the place now where I just don't give a shit. I care so much, but I can't stop worry. I can't continue to think and worry about what other people think of who Shawn Langwell is. I asked a friend, or put it out on Facebook a while ago, what people think of me. A lot of people said an inspiration. One of my nearest and dearest friends growing up, who I've known since I was 4 years old, said one word: "You're Shawn." And I knew what that meant. The question I have for you is, do you know who you are? Do you know really what you want in your life? Do you know what's in the way of where you are now to where you want to be? Do you have a why that's bigger than your fear? Do you need help? Do you need to humble yourself and swallow your ego and pride and ask for help in some form or fashion? Not necessarily for recovery. Maybe you need help in putting together writing your first book. Maybe you need help in finding a new job, making a career transition, of deciding which school you want to go to. The choices that we have to make in our lives are always going to be there. But what we sometimes tend to do is get wrapped up into, I have to figure it all out. You don't. I don't. Yet I still gravitate between these two extremes. And I talk about this a little bit in Chill, to embrace the space between extremes. That's where happiness and freedom and courage and balance and life lives. We're going to have each extreme here. But the balance and the pivot point is found when we step into that space and we're okay with where we are right now. It doesn't mean we have to accept every single thing that we don't like. It doesn't mean we have to move forward at the speed of light, holding on with white knuckles that we have to make up all this lost ground to be somebody that we're not yet, or to try and be somebody that we aren't through comparison. What it means is that we need to take a look in the mirror and say, you know what, I am okay, and be honest enough to take a deep spiritual, moral, physical, mental, whatever you want to call it, financial inventory of ourselves and say, what's not working in my life right now? What do I want to change? What am I not willing to let go of? What do I absolutely want to let go of? And when we're able to have that real conversation with ourselves or with a therapist or a coach or somebody else as an unbiased third party, our life begins to change. And the change agent is one word. There's actually two words, but there's one word really. It's willingness. What are you willing to do to stop living the life the way that you have been living it thus far? Do you have the guts and the courage to be willing or want to be willing to make some changes as we roll into this next year? The world out there is driven by fear, and it's designed to keep us in a state of dis-ease. And quite honestly, it is a fucking disease. When we allow the fear of the outside worry that gets imposed upon us and we internalize it and let it affect and rule who we are as human beings, we are not living up to our fullest potential. It's not until we get to a place that I have heard before called a gift of desperation, where we literally become sick and tired of being sick and tired of living our lives the way that we've been living them, and we make a decision like I did in October 10th of 1986 to put the fucking plug in the jug and make a decision that I wanted to live beyond 22 years old. I don't know where you're at this stage of your journey, but this is the most heartfelt message that I could give to anybody out there. And there's a lot of people I know. If I stop and took a day to write down all the people I know, either friends, family, and acquaintances, it would literally blow me away. The thing that keeps me going today is a conscious contact with a power greater than myself that I have nurtured and continue to nurture on a daily basis to the best of my ability. And honestly, there are some days that that flat out fucking sucks. There are days when I get on the freeway where I want to just zoom down there and bark and piss and moan because the carpool lanes are not what I want them to be. There's all kinds of things that I'm not happy with. But what I get to do is take a breath and pause and learn that where I'm at right now is okay. And I'm got enough, I've got the resources, I've got this internal beacon, if you will, that guides me when I pay attention to it. The problem that I have is that I forget to take the 2 foot drop from my head to my heart to my gut, or the gut to the heart to the head. I let this dangerous neighborhood between my two ears rule who I am and what I think I am capable of. If you want to make some changes in your life, please follow me on this show. Look me up on my website, ShawnLangwell.com. Give me your email. I don't bombard people, but if you are ready to make a change this year, next year, in the next couple years, in any form or fashion, I've been there. I've done a lot of it. I made a shit ton of mistakes. And you know what? I'm going to keep making them. But each time that I go through, whether I have gotten to a place of completion on a particular thing that I'm working on, a behavior, an attitude, a mindset, whatever it is, I understand that it's a process. And the process is not an overnight fix. What I've learned in writing 10 Seconds of Boldness and Beyond Recovery and Chill and Morning Motivation and another book called Today's the Day is that we are always in process. The only constant in life is change. But somehow, somewhere along the lines, we got this false narrative that we need to be fixed, that what we have isn't enough, that we are not, our identity is attached to what we have or who we know or what money we make, what car we drive, our house, all this other external bullshit. What we've done in chasing shiny, bright objects is forgotten how to stop, pause, breathe, and smile and say, you know what? I'm right where I need to be right now. And yes, I want to move in this direction, but where I'm at is okay. And the admission of where we are and the acceptance of that doesn't mean that we are failing. And failing in and of itself is not a bad thing. Failing gets a bad rap. If you look at anything throughout history, every single breakthrough, every single new paradigm shift is a direct result of failing. A big part of what keeps us stuck, in my opinion, and it's not just my opinion, there's tons of books written on this, is we suffer from this idea that we need to be perfect, that somehow we need to control all the people, places, and things around us. And when you look at that other book on my shelf there, Codependent No More, that's over 40 years old, I believe, Melody Beattie talks about this. It's called codependency. It's time for us to step into who we are and accept ourselves as we are and to be willing to want to change if we really do want to change. If we're perfectly content, we're living a happy life of nirvanic bliss, hallelujah. If you're not, I encourage you to continue listening to this show, following me, and get around some other people who are where you want to be. Because if you stay stuck in your own head or just reading a book, nothing is ever going to change. Nothing. I've put a lot of time and energy and effort into every single thing that I've done. And I've strived, I've white knuckled, I've done all the wrong things. So that's a benefit of me having gone through 39 years of recovery is that I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And by the grace of God, I haven't found it necessary to drink since that first day in October 10th of 1986. But I'm not cured. That's why I say, and it's been taught to me, and I believe it with my whole heart of hearts, is that my attitude and my outlook upon life is 100% contingent upon the maintenance of a spiritual condition. And it's not necessarily whatever your concept of God or spirit or higher power or universe is, I don't give a shit. What matters is that we take that step to see it in its totality and find a spot that is right down here in the core center of our being, in our gut. As my coach taught me, it's the hara. And that is the engine, one of the engines that primarily drives our thoughts, attitudes, actions, and beliefs. And when we learn to embrace that space between our extremes, this is an extreme, this can be an extreme because we're so concerned about helping other people that we forget to help ourselves. That is the spot and the space where we find what we all say, a lot of us say we want inner peace. And then why are we chasing all these shiny objects and reading the next book or going to the next event that is somehow going to cure us? All the information in the world isn't going to change jack shit. The only thing that changes is when you are willing to change. The 12-step program is a program of action. I know. And I know what it's like when I wasn't acting, when I was acting like a dick. And it pissed a lot of people off. It cost me jobs. It cost me relationships. It cost me all kinds of stuff. All of that was tied to self-will. So what am I saying here? If you really want to make a difference in your own life and have a legacy to leave behind of love, not just for your family, for yourself, for your coworkers, for your friends, and for the world, there's a high probability you're going to have to change some things. And I know that may be a bitter pill to swallow. When I'm my mother's son, she tells it like it is. And sometimes now that she's living with me, it quite frankly pisses me off because I don't want to hear it. And that's kind of how life is sometimes. From a heartfelt perspective, I'm going to read the introduction to Beyond Recovery, the journey of grace, love, and forgiveness. This book was dedicated to my deceased brother, Seth Adam Langwell, who was known as the Wheelie King. The prologue. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Friedrich Nietzsche. Have you ever stopped to think about why things happen the way they do? Why does the sun rise every morning and the sun set every night? Why do some people seem to be happy most of the time while others struggle to get through each day? Why do some go with the flow while others sit on the shore waiting for a better boat? Who knows? I do know this. The longer I live, the more I feel like life is merely a series of events preparing us for the next one, a dress rehearsal. It's about practicing, taking risks, being willing to fail, and finding the strength to get back up and try again. I have stumbled, fallen, and have experienced great joy and great heartache. I have been held captive by my own fears and made bad decisions. I have also chosen well and made good decisions. Along the way, however, I have grown to trust that everything happens for a reason, even if I don't like the outcome. Through trial and error, mistakes and failures, taking risks, skinning my knees, having my heart broken, overcoming tragedy, experiencing great joy and great loss, through grief, fear, anger, resentment, and even reconciliation and forgiveness. Through the multitude of joys and sorrows and plethora of experiences I've played over and over again in my mind like a broken record, all have in some way molded my view, shaped my attitude, or made me a stronger person. The inner battles I have faced were not fought alone. Many required me to surrender my will and ego, to humble myself, leaving pride at the curb. I had to learn to ask for help and seek out the advice of others. Through that advice and practice, I developed an inner strength, a sense of faith and reliance on God, my higher power, to guide me and carry me through every challenge. In the process, I changed. I began to look at the world through a new pair of sunglasses. I stopped focusing so much on my selfish wants and desires and began to look to the needs of those around me. My inner battles have taught me to take my eyes off myself and put them onto others. We all choose our own path. In the pages to follow, I will share some of the experiences, events, and stories that have had an impact on my life. It is my hope that they encourage, inspire, entertain, and touch your heart. These are not necessarily unique to my journey or perhaps anyone's. What is unique, though, are the precise events that each of us experience and how they may impact and affect our lives or the lives of those around us. Some events may bring us to our knees begging for help. Others may melt our hearts with joy. Some may be worthy of a story or two, while other experiences are too painful to share and remain locked away in our hearts, kept close to our chest for our entire life, never seeing the light of day. Some stories are brought to light in a dream so vivid they cry out to be told. My name is Shawn. I am an alcoholic who's recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body for 39 years. This book was my first book, and I intentionally wrote it because I wanted to help at least one person. As a result of that book, this book, I personally know of 5 people who have found their way into long-term recovery. I am living one day at a time to be the best human being that I can possibly be. And this show is my extension of that opportunity to share it with the world, not just from my own voice, but from the voices of my guests, from the people I have reached out to and invited into this fold because they have a story to tell. They have something of value to bring to the table that I don't have that particular experience per se. And such is life. This show is called Dare to Be Great, Dare to Be You, and I pray and hope that you take a chance on yourself because you are worth it. Please keep coming back. Love you all. Shawn.